Miscommunication is a broad topic, but it comes down to one point. It's the lack of complete communication. The reason why we find people not communicating completely is they don't listen completely. Now, we're all intelligent people. Most of you that I'm speaking to today have spent hours and hours and hours in leadership training, management training. You know how to do all the things to be successful. So why do you hit bumps along the way? Those bumps are when you don't listen completely. Interestingly, we can comprehend, listen, understand, and formulate a strategy at between 600 and 800 words per minute. We're doing that all at the same time. The people that we are listening to are communicating at 160 to 180 words per minute. So we have this huge gap that either can be used to our advantage to understand, formulate questions, or we get bored and impatient and we jump in and interrupt. Most of us jump in and interrupt. We don't listen completely. We don't have understanding. And it's that miscommunication based upon not utilizing that extra time that is the most damaging in any sort of one-on-one or group communication environment. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, when we do speak, we don't take the time to gain clarity. Stephen Covey, who 25 years ago wrote a book that every executive in the world put on their bookshelf, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The most important element of communication was understanding. Now, how do you get understanding in communication? You start by identifying the outcome, gaining an understanding of where we're going with this conversation. We used to say in a letter, the purpose of this letter is setting forth the outcome. Here's what I want to accomplish. Then the key is to break down how we're going to get there, what we want to do, how long it's going to take. And we break that down into things called tasks, how much time should be invested, and then lastly, when do we want to have whatever this finished product, this outcome is that's due. It sounds easy, but again, listening completely, putting these tasks and times to invest together are really, really important. And underneath all this is this gaining agreement. The difference between just getting somebody to shake their head yes, which makes us feel good because they're understanding what we're saying. But more important isn't they say yes, but they agree through that understanding. Simplest question is, let's pause for a moment. Can you tell me what you heard me say? So simply ask them to refrain back to you what you've been discussing, or ask them more pointed questions. On this outcome, do you feel these tasks align themselves with this outcome? Which ones, how would you prioritize these tasks? Another way to gain agreement. What we want from our leaders, we want from those as a leader, what we want from those that we manage and lead is honesty and transparency and engagement. And by challenging them with these questions, either by refraining and repeating back, prioritizing, or in some cases even saying, which of these would you not agree with? We'll draw them in and give you an opportunity to gain the agreement. Again, through that agreement, are they agreeing with the same thing that you want? So that misunderstanding where we started a few minutes ago is what we deal with. Push it aside, move forward. By developing this technique on both what you present and how you respond to requests that you get from others, will change the entire landscape of how your time is treated, how quickly you get things done, and how little time you're going to waste calling, emailing, chasing people for information. A few extra words during communication will make up for all of the wasted time. Why are we doing this? Why have we been sitting here having this discussion? What is it we need to do along the way in order to get the thing we're here to talk about, the why, accomplished? How? How much time are we going to spend, you, me, other resources, working on this together? And finally, when is it due? Just like the famous story of the Titanic and the ever-present iceberg 10% above the surface, 90% above. That's what we have to be aware of when we're seeking to gain agreement. If we just focus on what we see, the head shaking, the smiling face, the positive body language, we feel really good about it. How do you know when there's something on the surface that needs to be identified and dealt with to get agreement? What we find typically is when people are not asking us questions, they're not really agreeing. They're just yesing themselves through. They're happy just to get by the part of the iceberg, what their leader's telling them they need to do, they want them to do, they see. So if you find that you're talking more than the person that you're discussing this outcome and task with, stop. You have the right to pause and say, I need to stop here for a second. I'm not clear what you're saying. I don't understand completely. I need to ask a couple clarifying questions. When you pause, it opens up the door to every question you want to ask. The key here is when you close that door again, you have to go back and say, okay, great. Please pick up where you left off talking about whatever that topic was. So you're respecting their space. You're giving them time to speak completely, which means you get to listen completely, but you can still pause to clarify. If that's how you gain complete communication, when you're seeking information, you're seeking to gain agreement, shouldn't the audience, individual or group, be asking the same of you? If they're not, you don't know where they are. So this type of rhythm works on both directions. It works when you are trying to convince people of something. It also works when you're trying to, or they're trying to convince you or present an idea to you. Use the same techniques. Great thing about communication is it's not about formal titles or roles. It's about influence. It's about communication. Listening completely, clarifying, the pausing technique we discussed, and centering on gaining agreement and verifying that by having the audience verify back to you what they heard you ask them to do or accomplish or research will go a long, long way to give you an incredibly well-oiled machine when it comes to communication to and from your team.